Welcome. Today we're going to be remaking the beat from Ellie Goulding's Lights. I'm using free plugins when it comes to the synths and its effects, so regardless of the software that you use, you can follow along exactly. To download the presets, MIDI files, and audio files, just click the link at the top of this video. It'll take you to the Syntorial Kickstarter page, and scroll down to the bottom, tutorials section. Each video will have a download link. When you download, you will get a bounce of the audio, a file with links to all the free plugins, everything you need to remake each track, including the MIDI files, an audio unit or VST presets, and if you use Ableton or Reason, the full sessions. For Ableton, all you'll need is those free plugins, but everything will be ready to go once you open it. While you're at that page, check out Syntorial. It's the ultimate synthesizer tutorial, a fully interactive training software that'll turn you into a synth programming guru. Let's get started. All right, starting with the drums. Now these drums were originally made in Reason, and then the audio was bounced and brought into Ableton. So you got your kick audio, snare audio, hi-hat audio, etc. Included in the download are all these audio files, as well as the original MIDI from Reason. So you can either just bring these audio files in the way I did here, or you can bring the MIDI file in, get a closer look at the way the rhythms are, and then rebuild the drums using your own samples. It's up to you. Breaking down the drums, we got kick, snare, snare, hi-hat, shaker, floor tom, and then a mid-tom fill coming up here at the end. And then two cymbals. It's the same crash sample, just on different sides. So it starts on the left. Coming up about halfway in here, you hear it again on the right. That's the drums. So now we have the bouncy synth, the thing that you hear at the very beginning of the song. The MIDI is already recorded, and you can of course download that to see what notes are being played and what rhythm. I like to have the MIDI recorded and playing as I program. Otherwise you have to play the keyboard with one hand, program with the other. This is much easier. So we're going to solo this. Synth we're using is Tal Noisemaker. Nice free synth, VST audio unit, Mac PC. So this is the default sound. It's nowhere near where we need. First we need multiple notes, poly, no sub-oscillator. And the shape, it's like a mallet, it's a short note, so we're going to bring the sustain all the way down because that's where we want the sound to go after we play. We want to fade to zero. And we want it to happen pretty quickly. So we bring the decay to about here. So it gives us a short note. And then when you want a mallet-like sound, you want it to react the same no matter whether you hold the key down or release it. So you make the release and the decay equal. And that way it responds the same no matter how you play it. Also, the actual sound on the track is a little kind of softer than the attack of it. So we raise the attack a little bit just to soften it. Alright, now back up here to the tone. The note's way too low, so bring it up to here. Waveform is not a saw, it's a pulse, and right now it's full square, but we actually need somewhere kind of in between. Filter type is 24 dB low pass. After experimenting with this sound, I found that this other 24 dB low pass sounded more accurate. Cutoff we can turn pretty far down to get that nice round tone. And then the resonance is the key to this sound. This is where we get that very mallet-like percussive sound by cranking the resonance. Just like that. Now it's starting to sound much more like it. Key tracking. For those of you who don't know, key tracking essentially adjusts the cutoff. It raises it as you get higher on your keyboard, lowers it as you get lower. The whole point is that without it, higher sounds will sound duller than lower sounds, which will sound brighter. So if you're playing a part like this, where you've got high notes and low notes, you want to have key tracking on it to keep a nice even rounded sound across the whole part. That's your basic sound. We're going to turn it down a little bit. That's your basic synth sound. Now we just need the nice delay. This is the default delay in Tal Dub. It's kind of close, but not quite right. The timing's right. You got eighth note on the left, quarter note on the right. Damping, let's see. A little damper. Very common to dampen the delayed sound so that the source sound is kind of bright in front and the delays are a little rounder behind. We don't want any of this resonance though. Nice smooth sound. The feedback, which is how many times it delays, is a little long, so we're going to cut it to about here. And we could use a little bit more of that delayed sound. That's your delay. Let's bring the drums back in. Ooh, there we go. The last thing is, for this track, we're going to have a reverb on a send, so that we can just send any tracks we want to it. This is a church preset in Ableton, but you can use whatever big hall reverb you have in your software. And we're going to send a pretty hefty amount to... That, you know, gives it all that space and ambience. And that's the bouncy synth. Next up is the bass. We're going to be using Tal Noisemaker again. I'm going to turn it down a little bit before we start because it's really loud. I'm also going to turn down the sub for now. We are going to use that, but just not yet. First thing is I'm going to bring up the second oscillator to match the first. Down a little bit more. And bring the pitch down for the second to match the first. So now we have two identical waveforms at the same pitch with the same waveform at the same volume. So now all you gotta do is detune the second one slightly. That gives us that swirling sound, kind of a chorusy effect. That's kind of the main tone here. Then we bring the sub oscillator back in to give the low end. There's your bass. Sub oscillator in this synth is a square wave, and it's set that way permanently because that is the most typical sub oscillator waveform. It's just a sturdy waveform, a nice solid low end. I almost always use square and have to with this synth. So this is a bright version of the bass. The bass starts bright, but then it goes down to a round. It's like a round sound at the end. So we set the cutoff to where we want it to go. That's going to be the darkest point it reaches at the end of each note. Then we bring the contour, which is the filter envelope amount, back up to where we want the sound to start. Yeah, so we want it to go from that bright to where that cutoff is. So we bring the sustain level all the way down to 0, which is the cutoff. And then we raise the decay until about there. So it starts a little brighter and gets darker. Finally, the key step is resonance. Kind of gives it a wah-ish effect. Whenever you have a filter envelope in use, you can increase the resonance to really show what the envelope does and essentially give it a kind of wah effect. Now, volume-wise, bring it back up. And that's your bass sound. Now, the only difference is this is very narrow in the center. In the actual track, it's kind of a wider sound. So we're going to use a delay to widen it. Now you don't actually want to hear all these little delays. So I'll show you how to just make it wide without hearing delay. First, make it wet, 100%. We don't want to hear the dry sound. Then we're going to ignore these synced values. We're going to set the left delay to nothing. And we're going to bring this one down to about here. If you bring it too low, you get weird sounds. If you bring it too high, you hear separate notes. So, just right. No dampening, no resonance. Feedback. Too little, and the sound starts to go away. Too much, and you feedback. So, boom. And there's your wide bass. Narrow bass, wide bass. That's the bass. So, all together we've got... So now we're just missing the string sound, the synth string sound. A very bread and butter, common sort of pad used in a lot of tracks. I'm going to turn it down first because it's going to get way too loud if I don't. Okay, so what it sounds like right now is single notes first off, but we're playing multiple notes, so we got to give it more voices. No sub-oscillator. That's a little bit better. Too low, so we're going to bring this up. Oh, too high. There we go. Now we want the same swirling effect that the bass had, so we bring on the second oscillator, the same volume as the first. Now the reason the pitch just went up is because when you put two waveforms that are identical on top of each other, it can do some funny things. Watch as I detune it to get the swirling sound that the pitch will go back to normal. There we go. So there's our basic sound. Now we want it to drift off a little bit at the end. Yeah. So that way when you go from chord to chord, kind of tails off a little bit. Now right now we're using a low pass, the whole thing open, but in reality the sound's got both some of its highs and some of its lows kind of carved off of it. This means it's using a bandpass. A bandpass literally cuts off some highs and lows. When we put it about the midpoint, you can hear it. It's not super bright, but it doesn't have a lot of lows either. So it's a nice way of thinning out a sound. Now, we actually want this sound to start bright and get dark, kind of like the bass. But we want it to go all the way down if you hold the key long enough. So it goes down to nothing, but it starts at about there. So we want to go down to nothing, sustain to 0 to match the cutoff, and decay up here. Nice. Now you may have noticed that we lost the tail. Even though our amp release is still up, it's no longer tailing off, and that's because when we let go of the key, the cutoff is slamming down super fast because release is 0. So we bring up release to match our decay. So that if you let go of the key, hold the key, no matter what, the filter is going to operate the same way. So there's your basic sound right there. Only thing missing is some reverb. Give it a little wet. I'll show you what it really sounds like. Puts a lot of space around it. We don't need that much. Bring the volume back to. That is the entire track. That's it. Thanks for watching. Click the link at the top of the page to download all the things you need to recreate the track. See you next time.